All right, everybody, what's going on? Welcome to the fourth episode of the Below the Yellow Line podcast on World Racing Media. I'm your host, Armando DePaul. We got Justin, Joseph, and Will from NASCAR Opinion, and we also got a new guest, Blake, today. And we're going to be talking about the race weekend. We're going to be talking about the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. We're going to be talking about the Geico 500, the Money Lines 300, and the General Tire 200. All right, so let's get started.
Well, what a race weekend that was, from the Ferrari tire controversy and not pitting Leclerc at the Azerbaijan Grand Prix to the aero package at Talladega. It was a race weekend to remember. Talladega was just magnificent. What an aero package compared to the races last year. We have seen a magical difference in the way the cars have ran.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the package. To me, what I feel like I noticed was for the first time in a while, the drivers could kind of control their own destiny. Like if two guys, three guys decided we're going to work together, then they're going to go to the front. And I mean, that still needs to be worked on. You don't have the dominant car like you used to, but there was a lot of driver movement, and compared to before, where you were kind of locked in, you couldn't make a move. To me, I really enjoyed that. Like there was actually guys going from the top 5 back to 25th to back to the top 10, and that was really cool.
Very easy to move around, I've noticed.
One thing I appreciate about the race is that there were no big ones.
You're right. And it wasn't like the race was altered by one either.
Exactly. It wasn't like Daytona where you had like 5 cars at the end of it.
That definitely helped us actually having a decent number of cars still at the end of it. I thought it was going to be wild with the whole Bubba Wallace crash at first because I'm like, here we go. Which that did take out some good cars. I mean, I would have loved to see what McDowell could have done. I would have loved to see what Bubba could have done.
Me
You
too.
take out Harvick early. You pretty much take out Boyer early. That kind of threw a little bit of a wrench into it.
I agree. Like Bubba Wallace, he was right there at the front. And had that incident not happened, he probably would have had a chance. Just as equal as almost everybody in this race, including Justin Haley, who ran up as high as 7.
Oh,
He
dude.
got stage points in stage 1.
I was watching that 77 car, and that was the guy I had my eye on because he's just the kind of dude that just he finds himself towards the front. And I was just waiting, and he stayed clean most of the day until late in the race.
Yeah, so the incident with Buescher and DiBenedetto.
Yep.
Don't talk on that one.
That was that I think it was like what 30 something laps to go. Run out a red flag.
No, that was 7 to go, Joe.
That was the one with less than 10 to go.
Yeah, 7.
Set up the big finish.
Yeah.
Yeah, I completely forgot because of the finish.
And then everybody was mad at the finish. I honestly, at first, I mean, I guess if you look at past records, I guess you could make an argument for them to stay green. But I was shocked they didn't throw it for when a Stenhouse originally spun to begin with. Because in my head, I'm thinking, what if Stenhouse is parked down here and they crash coming across the line? Yeah. And then Steve O'Donnell talked about on Twitter, there was a big piece of debris, which actually would have been very dangerous if you have cars at 200 miles an hour hitting that, because that could go through the car. It could go up into the grandstands. It could even cause that wreck that could eventually hit the car where Stenhouse was stalled. So the people were pissed off at the finish.
And understandably so.
I don't understand why I mean, I understand they should have thrown the yellow for Stenhouse, because in my opinion, that wreck with William Byron and all, Kyle Larson, Jeffrey Earnhardt, it could have been avoided so easily if they would have thrown the yellow for Stenhouse. And what I don't get the argument for is like, oh, they didn't throw it because they wanted to benefit Chase Elliott. If they would have thrown it for Stenhouse, either way, Chase Elliott would have won. The only way Chase Elliott had a shot of losing is if they kept it green.
Right, and that's there was people that were thinking it's rigged for Chase Elliott. I'm like, so the logic is they let them race another half a lap all the way through turns 1 and 2, where Bowman or anybody else could have made a move. Yeah. If NASCAR truly wanted Chase to win the race, they would have thrown it exactly when Stenhouse hit the wall, because they'd already passed the white flag.
Yeah. Also about that, Alex Bowman, he had a good run.
If they raced to the finish line, he probably was won.
Like, he had a good run too. He could have made a move, but if Priest would have went with Bowman, it could have
They were
Chase
going
would
to
have
do
got
that.
past.
It was too late.
Yeah, they made the move too late.
Yeah.
That crash was weird with David Reagan moving up the track into William Byron off 2. That I don't know what happened there.
I think it was
it's every
just
man for.
right. They looked like they were going to wreck on the original restart. I think at that point everybody's just doing whatever they can to gain any spot at all, and at that point they just ran out of room.
Yep.
Pretty much.
I think it was like with 40 to go, I think. Like they were just jostling back and forth. Like I'm literally like sitting on my bed, looking at the TV. I'm like, they're gonna wreck. They're gonna wreck.
It's one of the most talented performances I can remember because there were so many times that cars got out of shape. I mean, Blaney had to save it 3 or 4 times. His car was crazy the entire day. I thought they were going to wreck multiple times.
So did Logano.
Yeah, Logano.
Logano was he was really, really aggressive, which a unique thing. If for some reason people haven't got to see the finish, just watch the weird restart. So Chase Elliott is notorious at Daytona and Talladega since the last couple of years at plate races that he's kind of the aggressor. He's kind of the guy that he wants to force something. The way he won this race was just not doing anything. He gave Kurt a really good push. He let Joey Logano be Joey. Joey's blocking left and right, making crazy moves. They just both went up the racetrack, and he just stayed to the bottom.
Let me tell you.
Yes, and I will say, like, I'm looking at the replay right now, and I'm just seeing, like, Chase Elliott, he was very stable. I mean, they stayed on the inside lane with Alex Bowman. He didn't move around. And, Justin, I said this in the race yesterday.
Yeah.
In the call on Skype, that Alex Bowman, sure, he lost the lead for a little bit, you know, but I said he's got to stay in the inside lane. Regardless of where he is now, he can easily climb his way back up.
Yeah.
And little did we know that Chase Elliott would be in front of him. Alex Bowman helped him out, pushed him.
Yeah.
And they stayed low. They didn't move high. They could have.
Yeah.
But I think Elliott was holding his own for the meantime. And it's hard to say. Like, when they got to the white flag, you saw Logano, he was trying to stay up top, make the most out of it, and it just didn't seem to work for some reason.
Yeah, Joey did not get a good run. He was. It wouldn't get.
Stenhouse crashing.
Yeah.
One thing that would have been really intriguing to watch, which I think all the cards would have been thrown out the window, is Joey was having to work with Kurt at the time.
Yeah.
And remember this whole Team Chevy thing. I mean, Chevy finished first through fourth, and I think part of it was just we're going to stay to the inside. Like at the end of the day, I'm not here to believe that Alex Bowman. I think Chase still could potentially beat Bowman to the line. I mean, Bowman would have had a shot. But Alex hadn't been in a lot of those situations. I don't know if he makes the right move. And if Chase doesn't move off the bottom, what's he really going to do? I mean, Chase will just block whatever move, and he's not going to wreck Chase to ruin both of their races.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. The official results. The Chevy finished 1, 2, 3. Hemrick, I guess. They scored Hemrick in 5th. Logano got 4th.
That finishing got really confusing. Like I even went on I went on the NASCAR app.
Brendan Gaughan got 8th in the 62.
Yeah, it was really weird because like one thing I saw him in 8th, the next thing I saw him in 11th, the next thing I saw him in 10th. Like I
had to get the scoring out.
Kyle
Busch
and Corey LaJoy got 11.
We got to talk about Kyle Busch for a moment. I think if F1 has the Driver of the Day award, NASCAR should do the same and give that to Kyle Busch. He started in the back. He had 2 penalties? I think he had more. And I want to say, he restarted in the back many times, found his way to the front, and gets another top 10 finish. For every race that's happened this season, he's finished in the top 10.
What's the last race he hasn't finished in the top 10? Just in general. I know he finished obviously he finished top 5. Homestead, Phoenix. I don't know if he got top 10 at Texas.
I'm going to
go we're about to look this up. I'll look this up. Because obviously it spans back to last season. But he finished off the playoffs fairly strong, I believe.
He finished fourth in the standings, but it's like, yeah, it's just because he finished.
Oh.
His last non-top 10 was Texas last fall. He
Yep.
finished 17th.
Yep.
So,
Wow.
so I was drinking the Gatorade. Gatorade's watching the podcast. Appreciate it.
I apologize for that, guys.
It's cool.
I mean, you're all good.
Like, I was checking the point standings going into the
I think I remember
Over.
Logano had
Kyle
Cowboys
Busch
went
is
over
the points
Logano.
leader by 15.
Yeah.
That's Joey Logano, Denny Hamlin, Kevin Harvick, Brad Keselowski, the top 5. Truex, Chase Elliott, Kurt Busch, Ryan Blaney, Clint Boyer, the top 10. Alex Bowman's up to 15th after being 21st. He moved 6 spots in the standings.
Look what one race can do.
Kyle Larson was in the top 15 in the chase. He's down to 21st after that crash. Down to 21st in the standings in that 42 car.
Kyle Larson has just been, after Phoenix, he's just been horrendous.
Yeah.
Say, like, he's got to stop the bleeding somehow. Dover's a pretty good track for him.
Yeah.
He almost won last year. So I think, I don't remember, he almost won Dover in 2016.
Yep. It was close.
Kansas, he almost won last year before the incident with Ryan Blaney at the end.
Yep.
If I would tell you, like, I think Larson needs to get a new pit crew. A new crew chief is bound to be needed for the 42 to make those improvements.
But the problem, who? Like, which crew chief?
That's a great question. I think, you know,
Darren Grumpy.
Darian Grumpy's working as he's working. I don't know what he does at Hendrick. He has a role in motorsports.
I think he's got a management role or something.
Yeah.
Can you imagine Larson with Czech and else as a crew chief?
No, that's I don't know.
That would be something.
That'd be, I don't want to say OP because Ganassi is.
The Xfinity Series was just weird. Like the finishing
talk about
order.
the race for a moment.
We only had one driver.
Who won the race?
Yeah, Tyler Reddick in the 2 car after starting second. And he dominated the race. Reddick led the most laps.
Tyler Reddick. I think Tyler Reddick is already matched his top 5s from last season, just this season.
Dude, let me tell you something. And people, like, even I still kind of don't want to believe it. I was able to talk with someone who, I can't say too much, but they're closely related with Richard Childress Racing. And a kind of a source around there. And they've told me Tyler Reddick is their best talent. And this whole time, it's like I'm trying to not, like, because part of you forgets how good he was at Brad Keselowski Racing. And then he comes over to JRM, wins a title, now's at RCR, and has finished like top 5 or 6 races in a row. I can't comment too much on the actual race because I was out of town. I didn't get to see the Xfinity race. I did go back and watch the final lap. And my only note on that was, and I tweeted about it, I usually could care less about people blocking. Blocking's not really a talent. It's kind of everybody can block. Everybody can get in the way of somebody else. But the way he did it at the end of the race, that was at least a little bit impressive. And as much as I don't really – he kind of falls into the gray area of NASCAR, you got to give a tip of the cap to Gray Gaulding for finishing,
Absolutely.
I think, second or third.
Yeah.
They finished second.
I've always undermined Gray Gaulding. I still do, if you want me to be honest. But he took a Bobby Daughter car,
Yeah.
SS Greenlight Racing, to a second-place finish. And I know Ray Black Jr. did this in the truck race at Daytona 4 years ago with the top 5.
Yep.
And that was kind of out of luck, but this was like he was making the moves.
Yeah. He started 8th. Greg Gaulding started 8th in the race.
Greg Gaulding's
He
had a
had a good car.
Gray Gaulding is a mysterious. Gray Gaulding is like a poor man. I'm not even going to compare him to Casey Atwood. Casey Atwood at least made it to the Cup Series.
Yeah.
I remember when Gray Gaulding was supposed to be the next big thing. I think he was with Kevin Harvick Incorporated,
Yes,
and running like K&N races and late models and stuff. And then he just made the jump too quickly and just went downhill from there.
Well, it didn't help that he was with BK Racing.
that doesn't
Yeah.
help. You're right.
Yeah, that's bad.
Yeah, the finishing results was Tyler Reddick with the win, Greg Golding second, Bell third, Briscoe fourth, Cindric fifth, John Hunter Nemechek at sixth, and he got Haley seventh. And then here's where it gets weird. Josh Williams in the 36 was eighth, Landon Castle in the 4 was ninth, and Chris Cockrum in the 17 was 10th.
In a Rick Ware racing car.
Yeah, the 17 got a top 10. Then we had Gregson, Garrett Smithley. We had crashes. Jeffrey Earnhardt crashed out of the race. Michael Annette and Cindric make contact. Ray Black Jr. blew up. For some reason, yeah, Ray Black Jr. blew up. That's why he finished back there. Like the Xfinity standings, I think Reddick is still the points leader, I think.
I got it right here. Give me a
Yes,
second.
he is.
Yeah, he's still the points leader.
Reddick's the points leader, 32 behind is Christopher Bell. In 9 races, Reddick has 1 win, 7 top 5s, 8 top 10s, and 2 stage wins.
That's very impressive.
Then we have Austin Cindric, Cole Custer, third, fourth. Then it's Allgaier, John R. Nemechek, Chase Briscoe, Brian Sieg, Noah Gregson, Justin Haley, the top 10. Right now, Brandon Jones is on the bubble over Ross Chastain.
If Brandon Jones still has a ride next year.
I want Brandon Jones to miss the playoffs just so Joe Gibbs kind of just gives him the boot. If Joe Gibbs doesn't give him the boot and Brandon Jones misses the playoffs, I don't even know what to say.
Well, I mean, I'm still surprised they even got him after how bad he was at RCR those 2 seasons. But
Here's another thing I don't want them to do.
he actually
They tried doing this a little bit after the Richmond race, I noticed, where they tried making a big 3 with Reddick, Bell, and Custer. I kind of get it, but it's like Bell and Reddick have been so much better than Custer. It was like last year with the big 3 with Truex, Kyle Busch, and Kevin Harvick. There was no big 3. I'll give it the most a big 2.5. Truex was nowhere near.
Yeah, after Kentucky, Truex.
see they came up with the term "Big 3" during the summer stretch of last year.
Yeah,
And that's because Truex was just on a roll.
Yeah, he won 4 races.
Kevin Harvick and Kyle Busch, and then you realize who the heck is winning outside of those 3 drivers? Clint Boyer, Austin Dillon, Joey Logano. We're like still in the summer at this point of the year.
and Chase Elliott at Watkins
Later
Glen.
on, yeah.
Here's why I
Yeah,
said
both that
I
big
said
3
this.
races.
I said this all last year. There was no big 3. It was the big 2. I'll give it 2.5 most.
Later, Armani, later on in the year, the Big 3 went away.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, of course. I'm just saying it was. If we're talking about heads on, Kyle Busch and Kevin Harvick, they were the top. Truex was a level down, and then another level down was like Brad Keselowski, Chase Elliott, Logano. Not even like Joey Logano, all that stuff. Actually, no. I would argue to put Logano and Truex on the same pedestal in terms of last year because Truex had more top 5s, but Logano had more top 10s and was more consistent throughout the playoffs.
And Logano wins the championship.
Exactly. But let's focus back on yesterday's race. So here's something. Here's one thing I'm kind of worried that they're going to do this with Cole Custer, Christopher Bell, and Tyler Reddick. If you look at the point standings, Tyler Reddick and Christopher Bell are separated by 32 points.
That's
Cole
right.
Custer is 4th in the standings, 75 points back. When they started talking about the big 3, this was after Truex's win at Pocono, and I think Truex was either 4th or 6th in the standings at the time. So that's why I'm saying, like, I'm a little worried they're going to do that again this time with Cole Custer. Unless Cole Custer picks it up and starts doing good like Christopher Bell, Tyler Reddick, and it's like, okay, then yeah, do that.
And Austin Cindric's impressing me even more. He's doing great on the ovals, more than I thought.
Yeah, last year was not too good.
But also, he was driving for 2 different teams and 3 different cars.
Yeah, but
The
like
whole 30
60.
race campaign.
he drove the 60 car, the 12, and the 22. He drove 3 different cars, and like the problem, like sometimes at the ovals, like Daytona, the first Daytona race,
He was
wrecked on
crashing when the crash began.
lap 11. He bounces off Suarez, like he bounced off 2 cars and crashed. He bounced off 2 cars and wrecked himself. Like it's like I know Brand Jones is running the. For me, for some reason, I feel like Brand Jones should run instead of going to Xfinity full time. He only ran part time in the trucks. He should have ran a full time truck season. Like
There's a list of drivers that I could say don't deserve to be at the level that they're in motorsport. I can make a
A
list.
handful of them if you want me to go on about
Like-
that.
like
Adley Decker, Brandon Jones.
Brandon Jones.
Biff.
Like
If you
I
want to
see
be
Brand,
fair, he actually stepped up a little bit this year.
like Brand Jones has actually last year in Brand Jones's truck career he got 4 second place finishes in the truck series.
He's a
He's
Chase
been close.
Elliott of the truck series.
He's been close to win. One of the crashes he got into, Austin Wayne Self took him out. A lap truck in the way at Dover in 2016. He almost won Kentucky 2017 to Christopher Bell. Like he's been close to win, but he's never got a 1 yet. And he's racing at Dover, driving for KBM this race in the 51 truck.
And that will be an
You know,
important for him.
it's kind of just fallen off a cliff after these last 2 races. Michael Annett. And that's not just because he's been running poorly. He's been running good all season. He's not been getting the finishes.
I had just noticed that he's fallen all the way to 11th in points. I mean, for once, I guess somehow Michael Annett actually fooled everybody because he started off really hot. He's been running well. I don't know if they're putting more money into that car. I don't know what's going on. Obviously, the win at Daytona was wild. I mean, Michael Annett might as well be the original Brandon Jones if we're on the case of both of them.
Yeah.
But he is falling. It's going to be obviously he's locked into the playoffs, but it's going to be really interesting if he's a guy that falls to like 14th, 15th, 16th.
I want to tell you something about Michael Annett. Last season, he had no wins, no top 5s, and only 3 top 10s.
Yeah.
3, just 3. He had an average finish of 18.6. So, and I'm not gonna lie when I say this. In 2017, when it was announced he was going to race in the Xfinity Series, I thought he was going to be a legit contender for the first time in his career. And in that year, he got 1 top 5, no wins, and 7 top 10s.
Well, I remember thinking to myself, like, this is his final chance. Like, Michael Annett's always been the guy that's in a bad position. He's always went to a not-so-good team. He's never really had a great chance. This is his opportunity. I remember putting it out on social media. This is his chance to prove himself, his big break. And then he just dropped the ball, but, of course, he gets locked into another multi-year deal.
I mean, to be fair, he does have Pilot J with him.
Oh,
I mean, the way the market works, I can't be mad at. I mean, I've been a Paul Menard fan for almost 10 years. So, I mean, I can't really talk about guys that just have sponsors.
But also, I don't get why Christopher Bell has always Rheem on his car. Like, that's
Well,
where
Brandon
that.
Jones actually his dad, JR, owns the Rheem company.
Oh, why is it on
And-
Bell's car but not Brandon's car?
Because
Well,
he's got Menards.
Same team. And Menards is part of the Rheem branch, if that makes sense. Or I don't know. I'm not so sure. Maybe Rheem is Menard. No. Maybe Reed is part of
Menards
Menards.
Yeah, because Menards is the store.
I can't speak today.
Like, I'm looking at Brandon Jones's truck stats. He has in 40 starts, 10 top 5s, 19 top 10s. He's been good in the trucks. That's why I want Brandon Jones should run a full-time truck season.
I said that like 3 years ago. And the NASCAR world left me on red.
Yeah, I can make a list of people who left me on red. Anyways, back to Michael Annett. Like I said, he ran good at Daytona. He ran good at Richmond. He's just been finishing so bad. I mean, coming out of Bristol, I think it was, he was 5th in the points. And then after Bristol, I think he fell to 7th after Richmond.
He was as high as 4th in the points coming to Fontana.
Yeah. After Bristol, he was 5th. After Richmond, I think he was 7th. And obviously after Talladega, he's 11th. He's just been getting finishes.
Talladega, he crashed out. He could have had a good finish, but he got crashed by
True. And he didn't start
Austin
on pole.
Cindric. Austin Cindric got in the back of them and spun him out. Because Michael
That's a
Annett did
funny
stay on the pole. Michael Annett this season has a win, 2 top 5s, 5 top 10s a pole. That's his
He's
stat.
already beating the record he had last year.
Oh, and I'm looking at his stats right now. But aside from Talladega, where he got crashed by someone else's wrongdoing, his worst finish is 13th twice. So I think he's the kind of guy that's falling victim to not scoring a lot of stage points.
Well,
So he's around a bunch of other guys that are scoring those stage points, yet he's not. He's finishing fine, but those stage points, like even from we've learned from playing video games with stage points, if you don't get stage points, you still fall down a point.
Yeah.
like 13th is not the worst finish. I've seen worse finishes than 13th before.
Coming from Michael Annett, you're right.
I've seen worse. Like I've seen like big name drivers like John Aaron Nemechek finish like 20th in some races. Like
He's got an average finish of 10.7 this season.
it's not bad compared to last year was 18.6 as an average finish. It was quite bad.
Cindric for a moment, but last year, compared to this year, he's already on a better track. Last year, he had no wins, 7 top 5s, 13 top 10s, and 3 poles. Finished 8th in the points. And I tell you, like, he stepped it up. I don't know what it was, but he just did it. And it was a turnaround. Like, some of the road races helped him out in those top 5s, like if I could pull it.
Like Austin Cindric in his whole career, he has in 43 starts, 11 top 5s, 20 top 10s, 3 poles. All his poles came last year in 2018. He only made 1 start at Road America in 2017, and he finished in that one race at Road America he ran. He started
On pole.
On the pole, finished 16th after blowing a tire. He withdrew at Homestead. He was in the he was supposed to race the 12 car, but his Truck Series stats. He ran 6 races, like 2015, 2016. He only got a win, 8 top 5s, 16 top 10s, 1 pole.
Oh, yeah. His 2017 Truck Series stats were great as well.
Like 2016, he ran 4 races, he drove the number 2 truck part-time. And in 2015...
His best finish was 15th at Phoenix.
In what year?
For that 2016 run he had, that was 2016, yeah.
2015, he got 14th at Phoenix. He was drawing the 29, remember? Because Austin Terrio got injured. That's why, like, the next race at Martinsville, Austin Cindric drove the 29 truck. Like, Austin Cindric has a perfect record in the K&N E series. He has in 2 starts, 2 wins, 2 top 5s, 2 top 10s.
Those are wins.
Yeah, he has a perfect record. 2 poles, 2 top 5s.
Perfect record. Austin Cindric's the next Dale Earnhardt.
No, that's in the K&N E series. ARCA, he has 8 starts, 1 win, 4 top 5s, 5 top 10s, 1 pole.
And believe it or not, his win came at Kentucky, not on a road course.
His 2 K&N East wins came at Virginia International Raceway and Watkins Glen. His 2 K&N East wins.
Right. And do you expect to see him race some more endurance later on?
Possibly.
He will.
I think.
If the moment's right, of course.
The thing I know, he's not racing at Le Mans because NASCAR's at Iowa the same week.
Yeah.
I
do want to see him drive for 4GT in Le Mans one day.
All right, I want to transition to F1, the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. And Will actually came up with this topic. So I went on Twitter on both my regular account at 87 Velocity and on the World Racing Media account. Basically asking fans, are you a NASCAR fan and do you watch F1? If you do, why? If you don't, like what detracts you from it? So I got a couple responses. So at KL Racing 47 said, I assume you meant NASCAR and F1. That's because I put a typo by accident. He says the only race I try to watch is Monaco. Otherwise, I don't follow F1. NASCAR has been around me my whole life. I can't really put into words what it means, what it does to me. Why it means what it does to me. Sorry. Nothing against F1, but I never had that same feeling towards it. So what are you guys' thoughts on that?
I mean, it's just a natural response to a fan who doesn't really have the just the liking for F1. And not everybody likes it. It's hard to explain. I mean, personally, I didn't start watching F1 until the early 2010s. And it's for obvious reasons.
Well, for me, I've always respected F1 a lot. And I remember when I was younger, I used to pretty much consider F1 probably the hardest series to go race, as in, like, we've proven NASCAR drivers can go run an Indy. We haven't really proven the Indy drivers can come to NASCAR. We have proven the Indy guys can sort of dabble in F1, but to me, like, I always think in terms of NASCAR. That's what I've been watching.
Mario Andretti, 1978, won the F1 World Championship, and he came from a car.
And that's one thing. Like I've always looked at F1 as potentially the hardest series to race in. The tracks are really, really hard. The cars are. I don't know a ton about it. I don't watch F1. My biggest reason for not watching a lot of F1 is, to me, it's polar opposite of NASCAR. NASCAR was built on backwoods, beating and banging kind of racing. And F1 seems to be kind of like a luxury brand. You know, you're wearing a polo and nice clothes when you go to a race.
That's true.
You literally get penalized if you try to touch each other too much.
Yeah,
it's also open wheel racing,
which I get. You know, some of it is. I mean, to me, I know Indy cars are a little bit more open. I don't know all the rules of Indy either, but that's why I couldn't get it.
Just open wheel racing that has ovals, if that makes sense.
Well, F1 actually has because F1 has a lot more restrictions on NASCAR. I mean, you can only have 2 cars in a team instead of 4 in NASCAR. And, I mean, you look at the market now. I mean, how many drivers? I mean, I know Esteban Ocon's looking for a ride. George Russell's probably going to want to leave Williams soon. Mick Schumacher, who knows where he's going to go?
People want to associate him with Michael Schumacher. I say, hey, I'd love to see him race, but don't speak too soon. Just because his last name says Schumacher doesn't mean he's Michael.
Yeah, that's true.
Go on.
Yeah, F1 is one of those things, like, I always say it's like, depending on the race, you got to take each racing series differently. I mean, the way I say it, NASCAR, you focus on the beat and the bang, the very close racing. IndyCar, you got the close racing, but, like, it's the speeds and, like, the raw talent, in my opinion, that's, like, more impressive. Like I said this in a couple of podcasts. I don't know if it was episode 2 or episode 3 of the podcast, but when Alexander Rossi put on his domination at Long Beach, usually when let's say it happens in NASCAR, when Truex like dominates Kentucky, I usually just see it as, he's winning a race again. That's because the expectations for a NASCAR race are different from an IndyCar race. That's why I appreciate more of when someone dominates a race like that in IndyCar than I do NASCAR. You gotta have different expectations for the race. Like F1, you focus more on like the technology, how these cars because they say in F1, the cars that are in Australia, that start in Australia, they'll be very, very different when the lights go out in Abu Dhabi at the end of the season.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm trying to think about like F1. There's also in NASCAR, there's no people like the only thing I know of F1 that's different. You know what happened between at Bahrain and Azerbaijan with with Ferrari. Like you saw the pitch strategy. I don't know why they about that, like those team orders. That's a problem.
I mean, that's just another thing about F1 racing. That kind of irks me as well, especially as someone who's always been supporting Ferrari in recent years. It aches to watch, especially in the Chinese Grand Prix when Vettel was ordered to pass. Leclerc was ordered to let Vettel pass, and
Yeah.
And see, that's something like he hit it on the head. That's as an outsider, I 100% label myself an outsider to Formula One. I probably won't. I mean, there's probably will not be a race this year that I watch. I usually want to know who wins Monaco because I understand Monaco's a big deal. But to me, there's always a pecking order. There's always even playing. I've only played one Formula One video game. There's a driver A and a driver B. There's one driver, their job is to go win a championship. The other driver is if you're in a position to win, you can do it. But if we need you to help driver A win a championship, you're going to
you're
help driver B.
subordinate to driver A.
Right. And then it's always, now this is just me as an outsider, there doesn't seem to be a lot of parity going on. Every single week, it's Lewis Hamilton. Lewis Hamilton wins. He's on the pole. He wins his 4th, 5th, 6th race of the year. Now, I know there's races where other guys win, but as an outsider, trying to give the perspective of why I don't think a lot of NASCAR fans jump to Formula One is because of that very reason. We see how NASCAR fans get aggravated at Kyle Busch winning all the races. Now imagine one guy who pretty much leads the entire race, wins half the races in a year in Lewis Hamilton. It's hard to get other people on board.
Well, that is Grand Prix racing for you. It's not supposed to be nitty-gritty racing. It's usually about starting the race, creating a big gap, getting your new tires, and maintaining the gap enough to win the race. That's what a Grand Prix race is. If you want to go to the true definition of it, and I understand you view yourself as an outsider because you mean well, and I understand it's absolutely true, but you also have to factor in that, F1, especially in recent days, has become more of a one-sided race. There's really only 3 teams that has a fair shot to win every race.
Oh, yeah.
Ferrari and Red Bull, and it even looks like Mercedes has the upper end because they're just the only team playing the cards well.
Like, we saw what Ferrari did at Azerbaijan, saying they pitted Leclerc way too late and they pitted Leclerc twice.
They pitted Leclerc early, and then he ended up taking the lead when everyone else pitted. And
but then
Leclerc's tires
They only
worn
pitted
out.
him twice just to get
they pitted Leclerc twice.
only to get the fastest lap.
Yeah, that was quite stupid. Of what?
Yeah, here's another comment from @DaleJr.fan _62. I follow F1 as it is a very reputable and popular form of motorsport with great racing, but often I can't because the races are never on a convenient time for me. That's another thing. Like F1 races, because they're around the world, like let's say in Australia and Abu Dhabi, you might miss the race.
China is worse.
Yeah, for example, China, we stayed up for it, and it was the easiest thing to do.
Yeah, it was really late.
This is like FIFA, FIA is kind of like FIFA in a way. Usually because it's worldwide. It's like you have to associate the FIA with FIFA, or like in hockey, the IIHF, International Ice Hockey Federation, that runs the World Championships and all that. Which Sweden won over the weekend for the U18s, but that's for another topic. Like I said, you had to get up for the gold medal game.
Yeah.
Actually, the bronze medal, I meant. That was yesterday. It was Canada and USA. USA beat Canada in the bronze medal game. And then Sweden won. I don't remember who they beat. I think it was Slovakia, was it? I have to double check. But the gold medal game is in the afternoon, smack in the middle of a Stanley Cup playoff game. And that's the stuff, for a worldwide event that you have to recognize and acknowledge that, yes, you have to put the Islanders Hurricanes game to the side because of the European region, which was in Sweden, the tournament. was held in the gold medal game yesterday. And of course, for them, it's nighttime. For us, it's mid-afternoon. And we had to sacrifice a Stanley Cup playoff game for that. And I know it's different from having to stay up till like 2 a.m. for the Chinese Grand Prix.
Yeah.
Or for the 1 a.m. for the Australian Grand Prix.
Yeah.
Of course, that's something you can't help. And it's part of the aspect. It's not easy to watch. You're not going to go to a sports bar and watch a Formula One race with your buddies drinking beer at a reasonable hour. You can't.
Yeah. Also about that, it's hard with like WEC. Like WEC is starting at I think like 7 or 8 a.m. Eastern. The race at Spa is gonna start. Like it's really early for us, but in the afternoon in Spa, in Belgium. So
And that's something you cannot help.
yeah, we can't control that.
Mm-hmm. And American viewers, I don't want to generalize on the people in this nation of 50 states, but we are a picky audience. We want things when we want it, how we want it, ASAP. If we have to adjust for something that we want to see, usually us people turn away from that.
Well, I guess you could flip the argument, like for maybe F1 fans not watching NASCAR, because let's say when an F1 fan they see the NASCARs beating and banging or wherever, they'll be like, "Oh, this is dangerous. Why are they like intentionally like trying to like hit each other?" Basically, you can do it back and forth. So it's like Will said, they're polar opposites. It's one of those things where it's like a motorsports fan in general. Like if you enjoy every single form of motorsport, then yeah, you're gonna like both races.
Yeah.
Both series. But like, if you're like in a specific domain, there's nothing problem being like specifically NASCAR and IndyCar or specifically F1 or World Endurance Championship. There's nothing wrong with that. But it's like obviously you're gonna have differentiating views.
Right. I think you could almost compare. They're polar opposites. Like NASCAR is hockey and Formula One is like golf. You're both hitting something.
Yeah.
You're using an instrument to hit something into either a goal or get it in the hole. You're doing something, but in golf it's about etiquette. There's certain ways you do things. In hockey, just like NASCAR, you just beat the hell out of each other, and then you hope it's a good showing. And another argument I will give for Formula One fans is we don't think about this. All of our races, I mean, a lot of times where they're racing or where international fans are, it's the complete opposite end of the day for them. So our races are starting at 1 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It could be nighttime, middle of the night, where other fans are trying to watch.
Yeah, that's true.
On a weekly basis.
And that's something no one can control.
Yep.
They're just regional consequences. I mean, really, the only races where we have to like stay up ultra late for is, I'd say, Australia, for like us Americans, Australia, China, Japan, and that's pretty much it. A few years ago, I would say Malaysia, but they're off the schedule. Next year we'll have to deal with Vietnam.
Oh, goodness.
Hey, if Singapore wasn't a night race, that would be a even bigger problem because the race may have had to be started at like 3 or 4 a.m.
By the way, I was looking at the 2020 F1 schedule. Silverstone has not been renewed for a contract, I guess.
Wait, what?
Silverstone has not had a contract renewed for 2020.
I really hope something's done about that.
All right, Will, so you're heading out?
Yeah, I'm heading out, guys. I got some other stuff I got to get done, but y'all keep talking about this F1 because it's interesting. And I'll make a deal with you guys. If y'all keep talking some good F1 content, I'll try my best to watch Monaco this year.
All right.
Thank you. And as for F1, the next race is at Spain in 2 weeks' time.
Yep.
For the Spanish Grand Prix in Barcelona. Yes, I know you like Freddie Mercury.
Also, by the way, Bottas has a 1 point lead over Bottas. Bottas has a 1 point lead over Hamilton. Going into Spain, not Hamilton has a point lead on Hamilton.
I'm going to check out Will. check out Will on Twitter at NASCAR_opinion. Really good guy. He's the one who created World Racing Media. I explained this last podcast, so glad to have him on again.
So Bottas has the 1 point lead over Hamilton heading into Spain.
Oh yeah, because that fastest lap he got in Australia.
Like Mercedes has been, they've been doing good. Bottas started first and won.
Doing good. They've been unstoppable.
Again, Williams started bad, finishing bad again.
You know what's funny?
Williams.
Here's the thing. 2 Mercedes at the top of the standings, 2 Mercedes at the bottom of the standings.
That's true.
Sandwich.
I see your analogy. It's kind of true. Sad but true.
But like
What are the
Williams is so crap. The last time they actually qualified legitimately, not in the final row, was all the way the U.S. Grand Prix last year. It's been a while. I've been always
Ferrari last one was Kimi Räikkönen.
Like I don't get how they
Yeah.
qualify last. Like they're really slow. Like right now I'm checking. Bottas has 87 points. Hamilton second. Then we have Verstappen, Vettel, Verstappen, Leclerc, Perez, Gasly. Okay, Perez is tied with Gasly for 6.
Hmm.
Yeah,
They have a three-way tie because Kimi Räikkönen's also there.
Kimi Räikkönen's in 8th, Lando Norris 9th, Kevin Magnussen in 10th. In the point standings, top 16 each have a point. Anthony Giovinazzi, Roman Grosjean, George Russell, and Robert Kubica are the only ones with no points yet.
Roman Grosjean's going to get points. Antonio Giovinazzi, he was running 12th at the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. That's much better considering he was running like 15th, 16th.
But George Russell and Robert Kubica,
they're not scoring points. No, they score points. It's a miracle.
Oh yeah, WEC racing at what track? At Spa.
Spa.
And also, by the way,
track's confused. I don't know why.
About Spa, you know what's weird about the race at Spa? For some reason, usually Velocity in the US shows the first and final hours for the 6-hour races. For some reason, Velocity in Canada shows the whole thing. But I can't even see it because I don't get why Velocity. For some reason, Discovery Velocity cost $13 to have that channel. It's so
it's considered premium by Motor Trend.
But it's also trying to find a stream of WEC hard on its own.
Friday will come at you like this. I'm just being realistic here. That's kind of what they do.
But it's hard finding a WEC stream. I had problems finding one for the Rolex 24, for the Le Mans 24. Last year, I had problems finding one. That's the problem. When it was with Fox Sports, I had no problem. It's with Velocity is the problem. Because I only get the free preview from January to February. Le Mans all the way in June. That's the problem right there.
But going back to the going back to the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. You think Leclerc? I think if Leclerc actually had a shot to win, if Ferrari actually, knew how to strategize.
Yeah, but I don't know if that's on their agenda.
Also, Leclerc could have qualified better, but the problem about Leclerc, crashed in qualifying. He crashed in turn 8.
I guess that's another thing I could say about not just Formula One, but open wheel in general. It's since they're not really focused that much on the racing, you get to appreciate more of the other aspects, like the strategy and who really has the best car or not. Because obviously there's strategy and stuff in NASCAR. I mean, the race at Talladega yesterday. I mean, at the end there was 2 tire stops, there was 4 tire stops. Excuse me. Cars were sticking up. There was strategy all over the place, and obviously that builds into to the race. But it's like I feel like with Formula One and IndyCar, because you're not focused so much on like the side by side racing, you get to appreciate the strategies more.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
By the way, Chase Elliott has a Napa Breaks paint scheme for this weekend. That's
Yeah,
over.
it's all gold. Is that dark blue or is that black?
That's black. That's Chase's paint scheme.
It's a tough one, but I think it's black.
Black and gold.
Well, we'll find out.
Gold and black car. Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about some endurance racing and let's get into some sports car action that will be returning this weekend. I did watch a little bit of the Champ Car Endurance Series event.
Yeah, when are we starting that team up?
Yeah, well, over the weekend there was a 7-hour race at the Charlotte Roval. I'm not sure who won the race, but I tuned in for a...
Wait, I'm going to go check. I think it was a 3-4. Let me go check. I'm just checking who won. Go on the website. Oh, come on. Website. I'm checking who won. It was it was the number 346 that won, I think. Yeah, the number 346 car won the race. Yeah, number 346 won that race. The next race is at what's the next? I know it's
Is it VIR?
No, it's at Thornhill.
Thornhill.
Yeah, it's in California.
They have a lot of races in California. I know they had a race in Laguna Seca. It was like a double race. It was like an 8-hour and an 8-hour race. And of course, I watched the 14 Hours of Daytona. That was pretty good. I hope whoever runs, I know they're very cheap and kind of not the best financial-wise organization out there, but I do want to see them have some better cameras in the future because that must be some good racing. We just had some bad camera angles. Most of them are just onboards.
Yeah, and also we have IMSA at Mid Ohio
Real and IMSA
on Sunday. IMSA.
Yeah.
We have all classes. We have eight prototypes, 2 LMP2s. Yeah, we have 36 cars in total.
How many GTLMs?
Let me go check.
Half of those GTLM teams will be in Spa this weekend, so you may not have the full entry.
Oh,
What
come
do you
on.
think? What do you think we're going to see out of Mid Ohio?
I'm just checking. I'm
I
checking
think,
the entry list right now.
I think the 5 DPI is going to win.
For me, I think possibly the 10. Because they have speed. They almost won at. There's 11 prototypes, 2 LMP2s, 8 GTLMs, 15 GT Daytona cars.
Yeah, I wasn't.
Is Rossi in the Penske car this week?
No, it's there's only 2 drivers per car. It's Castroneves and Ricky Taylor.
I was going to say,
Yeah, it's only 2 drivers.
if Rossi was in the Penske car, then I think that would have ensured the victory. Because he won the Mid Ohio and IndyCar. We know that he's capable of putting dominant performances. They won the race last year, so.
The other car has Dan Cameron and Juan Pablo Montoya.
We have 36 entries total for that race.
And this race is 2 hours and 40 minutes long?
Yep, 2 hours 40 minutes.
All right.
We also have the Michelin Pilot Series race, a 2-hour race. There's 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 23 Grand Sport entries and 14 touring car classes. There's 37 cars in that series.
That's a kind of like a little more cheaper series.
We have
Usually those cars they run in the Nürburgring 24 hours.
we have the IMSA Prototype Challenge. That's an hour 45 minutes. We have 24 entries. We have LMP2 and we have LMP3 classes, just LMP3 cars.
Yeah, it's just usually.
And we have the Porsche. We have a 45-minute Porsche GT3 Cup Challenge USA. We have 8 GT3G and GT3. We have 18 GT3P. We have 26 entries in that race.
Yeah, it's a one-make race. I know there's like GT3 cups all around the world and stuff.
We have WEC this weekend at World Endurance Series.
Yeah, Blake is an expert on endurance racing. I know you've had your eye on Spa this weekend.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, this is, a classic event. Spa 6 hours. It's been, forever. It's been like an annual event. So it's a nice event, and the track really suits sports cars too really well. But anyway, coming into this, we have some regulation changes in P1, which will kind of stir things up a little bit, maybe, possibly.
Do you think? Question: Do you think
we have?
That, sorry to interrupt, but do you think the regulation changes in the P1 cars will play a little negative effect on the Toyota camp, or will the the privateer LMP1 teams still have to worry about a deficit against the Toyotas?
I don't think we can really say for sure until we see some lap times put in, but I think it's pretty likely that the gap is, if not completely diminished, at least it's closed up probably quite a bit, I think.
All right, and about the other classes, carry on about that, and what you have seen so far.
Well, GTE Pro, as always, the BOP is very good. I think, it always allows for, all the manufacturers to be close together. The only manufacturers right now that are really on a slump are Corvette and Aston Martin. But aside from them, everybody's really in a dogfight, and I really like to see that.
And I'm not surprised at all by it. I think they usually always go neck and neck in the GT LM. Or in the GT Pro class in this case. They just that's how it is. The factory teams come in and it's just battle of the powerhouses. I think Ford has had the upper end lately, and of course Porsche has too. But when will you see Corvette step it up? When do you think the turnarounds will begin?
I think if not now, then probably next season.
And do you think their performance in IMSA has affected them in the WEC as well?
No, I think those are two separate series. Yes, they use pretty much the same rules, but the BOP may be different between the series, just based off of hey, they have different tracks, they have different
the races
they have
are
maybe
more
the same
longer.
cars, but
I mean, they ran the exact same cars.
Yeah.
The Sebring races. I do remember. And same with the drivers and
Yeah, well, I
race,
mean,
they shared the same people.
yeah, but I'm saying that we have some other cars maybe in there that shake things up a little bit that we don't see in WEC, or maybe teams and whatnot that we don't see in WEC. I don't know. I could be wrong on that. It could be the same BLP,
And plus,
but I've seen that.
anything can happen.
I've seen that Corvette have been a little bit more competitive in IMSA than they have been in WEC. So that leads me to believe that the BOP is different.
You're right. I think so. I mean, usually the BOP is the most even in the GT Pro class, and of course LMGT class in North America, but that's usually how it's done. Also, the GT AM class, usually the Porsches, it seems like the Porsches this year have the upper end of the GT AM class. Usually Proton and Density Proton they won at Sebring last race. And I think the momentum will carry on and continue when we go into Spa. And let's talk about the track itself. This is not your ordinary course. There's a lot of G-forces being played with at Spa, especially in the first few turns going up a Rouge.
Right. Eau Rouge is one of those corners where you really have to have confidence in the car, in all capital letters.
Absolutely.
You have to have confidence in the car because you are going up almost the same height as you're going down the corkscrew in Laguna Seca, almost.
Oh, yeah.
And
so it's like you're going up the corkscrew, but with speed. Yeah, that's a bad analogy.
Yes.
Because you would jump.
It's not the best analogy because Eau Rouge is a bit more open, so you can go pretty much flat out in a Formula One car, maybe with
And also, you got to set your car up.
a brush of the brakes in a GT car, I want to say.
Now, I know some of the drivers appeared in the 24 Hours of Spa, and some were at the 24H Series race prior at the 12 Hours of Spa. So those drivers will definitely have the upper end when we get to this race. And it's not unfamiliar territory either. This is a track with rhythm and knowledge. If you have knowledge of Spa, like it's easy to get knowledge of Spa, then you'll have knowledge anywhere. Like when you come back, getting to know a track is very important. And familiarity is key with Spa. Now,
Right. Spa is one of those tracks. Spa is one of those tracks where, like you said, memorization is key. And there's, again, you have Eau Rouge, you have Puhan, you have, a lot of parts of the track where you have to have confidence in the car, and it's a track that it's a driver's track.
It is.
I want to say that's a term that we road racing fans like to use.
And I say that because there are tracks on the NASCAR schedule that I call a driver's track. Many of us refer to Richmond as that. But what I will say is, like, Spa's not the only track that's considered a track with rhythm. Look at Le Mans. Le Mans is the perfect example. You know where this turn comes. You know how to act. You know where to weave through the corners. It's a rhythm. You kind of know it by heart. It's like knowing a simple song. You come to the chicanes. You come to Indianapolis, Porsche curves, or Tetra Rouge. It's very easy.
Right.
What do you
Right.
think?
And you
Uh,
have to.
continue.
It's like driving a lap, and this is kind of gonna be like I guess a bad analogy, but it's almost like when you're performing a song, and I'm actually very big in music as well, not just racing. That's my other big thing is music. But when you're performing a a, a song, you
Yeah,
have to be there with the rhythm. You have to be in sync with it. You have to
exactly.
be one
If you
with the
if you get
song,
out of sync, then
and that carries over. That carries over to racing, where it's like you have to be one with the car and one with the track, especially at places like Spa and Le Mans.
yeah, like, I don't know how much this really applies to, but like sometimes I go racing down like my nearest like go-kart track. If the cart isn't right, because I actually take it seriously, if the cart isn't right, then I just feel out of tune. I feel like I can't get the best lap I can out of it. So it's like
Well, you're not content with the car yet. That's why.
exactly.
You have to know your car before you can put it to its limits.
Yeah, exactly. It takes me like 2 or 3 laps to figure that out, and even then, sometimes I just don't like it, and I just got to deal with it.
That's why in F1, you kind of see, like, for Q1, you usually see, like, Lewis Hamilton or, like, Sebastian Vettel, the typical pole sitters, not have the best lap time yet. They may be, like, 5th or 6th in Q1, but then by the time they hit Q2 or Q3, they're in the top. It's just how it is.
Yeah. Yeah, I think like he said, I think that comes down to you have to get used to the way the car is going to react with the setup you have in XYZ turn, and and when once you get used to that, then you can really start pushing it to the limit.
Yes, and I think you're right on that too. Um, yeah, the last thing you want to fight is your own car. If you're fighting your own car, and especially in an endurance race like the 6 hours of Spa, you're in for a rough time. And it's also a bad impression on the co-drivers waiting to take the wheel in that car. It gives off a bad
Right.
it lowers the self-esteem of those co-drivers. They're staying on the sidelines waiting to get in, and not to mention you probably have to make up the time you lost because of that deficit. It's part of racing in these long endurance events.
Right. And yeah, that's like you said, that's the last thing you want because, in an endurance race, you're already concerned about just keeping your nose clean and, not running into trouble. But when you're fighting the car, that's a whole extra mile you got to worry about of problems.
Yeah, but also in a long race like that, you can get your adjustments fixed up in the pits. And the thing about pit stops in these long races, you could take your sweet time down pit road in an endurance race and not panic. Unlike in a Grand Prix event, really, pit stops in a F1 race is like that quick. Or like in your traditional sprint race,
Right.
you have to get right back on the track. But in the sense of a 6-hour race, pit stops can take over a minute if they need to, and it's not going to kill you.
Yeah. I
I do
mean,
want
it
to mention though.
definitely.
No, continue. I'll say it later. Go on.
All right. But yeah, I mean, like you said, I mean, that's also another thing with endurance racing is, pit stops can take however long, and it's not going to kill you, but it's certainly not the best thing to have. I mean, it'll definitely put you down, and you definitely need to work yourself back up. But even I mean, we look at a 6 hour WEC race, which is the standard length at this point for WEC event. It's more treated a little more like a sprint race because of the way the cars are kind of set up now. I mean, we have these prototypes that can you know you can just push it and push it and push it and you know just push it the whole way 6 hours and I mean that's what they do most of the time. The technology can handle it. The car can handle it. It's built for it.
Mm-hmm. Now, also a thing about endurance racing is this branches out to other types of leagues. You know how stock cars, you only focus on NASCAR. For for basically open wheel, you only got F1 or IndyCar. And of course, back in the day, kart/champ car. But that was under the branch of IndyCar professional racing. When it comes to endurance racing / sports car racing, the drivers and teams don't have one league only to resort for. Most of them branch out to all kinds of organizations in one calendar year. Not every team you see on the grid in the WEC exclusively races in the WEC. You'll see some guys in the Asian Le Mans series like Jake and Chen DC Racing or Alpine, however you pronounce it. They race in the European Le Mans series, the ELMS. Of course, Ford and Corvette, they race in North America in the WeatherTech Sports Car Championship, the IMSA series. And you look at Porsche. Porsche, of course, has the biggest program of them all when it comes to branching out. They have their drivers, Patrick Pilet, Kevin Estre, Nick Tandy, go everywhere. They'll race at Nürburgring one at the 24-hour race. You'll see them there. You'll also see them at Daytona. You'll see them at Sebring. You'll see them at Le Mans and some of the 6-hour races. Usually, they'll be all over the globe. The Bathurst 12 hours. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't stick with one race. These guys go everywhere in one calendar year. And it's very interesting. The endurance racing calendar year actually begins in the Dubai 24 hours the first week, or actually second weekend of January, all the way until pretty much the one of those Champ Car Endurance Series races.
Right, and a little bit.
It's just like that.
I apologize. My internet's a little slow, but I actually wanted to get into the Dubai and the 24H series for a little bit. Actually, the 24H series is it's a very quickly growing series, and for good reason. It's got a good BLP. It's got I mean it is based off of GT3 and TCR, but we have some really good top tier teams. We have top of the line
Black
drivers coming in. We have and we have a whole global series based off of just endurance racing as it should be, in my opinion, at least.
Yes, and that is all worthwhile. I have to guarantee you on that. I really enjoy watching the 12 or the 12-hour races or the 24H series sanctioned events. Usually the 12-hour races, then it's some 24-hour races. They even do a 24-hour race broken down into two 12-hour races where the timing and scoring remains the same for the second half, which I find very interesting. It's not like a second chance. It's like it makes the first race have meaning. And they just resume
Right.
with a period of sleep in the middle. That's actually what they do in COTA at Circuit of the Americas in their 24-hour race, which was great. I remember watching that last fall. Brilliant event. I hope they do it again. Maybe I hope they do a Bathurst 24 hours again. They did that. When was the last time they did a Bathurst 24 hours?
I think it was 2006.
I have to double check, but I remember the 2003 Bathurst 24 hour finish. Is it Richard?
Oh yeah,
Was it Richards and
I would love
10?
to see a 24. Right.
I know they have a 6-hour and a 12-hour race there. The 6-hour race was in Easter weekend,
Right.
and the 12-hour race was on Super Bowl weekend, the day before Super Bowl Sunday.
All right, let's do a review on the races coming up this weekend. Obviously, F1's off this week. IndyCar's off this week. NASCAR's going to Dover for its triple header with the Cup, Xfinity, and Truck Series. Mid Ohio this week?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, so we got Mid Ohio with him
Yeah.
this week.
And the World Endurance was at Spa.
Yeah.
And let's talk about some supercars action. They are going to Perth this weekend for 2 races. And for us U.S. viewers, if you live in Eastern time, you might want to set your alarms for around 6 in the morning for the races because it's a night race for Australia.
Yeah.
Meaning that for us, we don't have to stay up late, but we actually have to get up early in the morning instead. And I remember for the Sydney Super Night race that happened, that was actually worse because that race was like 5:40 in the morning. And Justin, you remember my sleep schedule did not agree one bit.
Yeah.
All right, so I guess we'll start with the supercars. Who do you think is going to take the win?
Well, I think who could stop Scott McLaughlin? Even if he tried, he just something about the DJR Penske Fords. The Mustangs have been strong. McLaughlin has a 124-point lead over Fabian Coulthard, his own teammate, and Chaz Mostert 243 points back, another Ford, and the highest holder in the championship right now, Shane Van Gisbergen for Red Bull Holden Racing Team. He is 256 points back, and we are on round 10 of this season. Remember, there are many races left. There's multiple events in the same weekend. We go to Perth after coming from the race weekend at Phillip Island. There is a new rule change involving the performance of the cars. The Fords are getting a little disadvantage here. The sanctioning body wants to make the playing field a little more fair by allowing the Holdens to have a little more power. I'm not so sure on the rule change here. However, this is supposed to benefit the the Holdens in order to get the Fords faster and maybe just stop their bleeding. And it's a little controversial. Many fans do not like this. I'm sure some of the Holden fans, because they are polar opposites from the Ford fans. If you're in the world of supercars in Australia, those two fans do not like each other. The Holden fans are squealing of joy, while the Ford fans are steaming of misery. So we'll just have to find out in these 2 races coming up. And, well, I got to say, I'm actually impressed with Fabian Coulthard hanging on the second in the points. Usually he drops back in the championship early in the year. I always thought he was a little mediocre, but maybe he's proving me wrong, especially winning at Phillip Island in the last race. But as for that, keep an eye out. I'd say the underdog for this race weekend. If race 1, Justin, you know who my prediction is going to be?
Oh.
David Reynolds.
Huh.
It's kind of same as the dark horse pick for really every race weekend. And for Sunday, I believe Scott McLaughlin's going to win it. However, the disappointed guy leading the track will have to be Shane Van Gisbergen. He's going to come short one way or another. Or maybe Jamie Whincup. And where is Whincup in the standings? He's ninth, 379 points back. This is not where he wants to be. If Whincup wants to win that 8th championship, something drastically has to change, and it's got to happen like now. So that's my overview over supercars for us viewers in the U.S. Got to get up early this weekend, or you'll miss the race. Now let's talk about Dover. Armani, I know you're eager to speak your mind off this.
Finally, something I can actually talk about because I don't know much about supercars, sports car racing. Anyway, yeah, we got the first triple header, and when was the last time the trucks since Texas?
Texas Motor Speedway.
Since Texas. The trucks are back. Stuart Friesen holds the points lead for the truck series over
Brandon Finger.
Brandon Finger, yes. They'll be racing on Friday. There's no any Cup guys in the field.
No.
I mean, they're not prohibited. There isn't an entry list coming out just yet. We are a little bit early on that. This was going to be round 6 of 23.
Yeah.
But this is no dash for cash in the truck series or anything like that. Brandon Finger's back 6 points as Ben Rhodes is 16 points behind in third. Johnny Sauter.
Can someone tell me why they changed his number again?
I have no clue, but the team is staying.
Yeah,
and that's really what matters.
I think it's a 41. I know they made the 41 a big deal last year. And now he's in the 99. It's like, keep a number.
Yeah.
This is Ben Rhodes' 4th season for ThorSport, and I've definitely seen some improvements out of him.
Yeah.
And Johnny Sauter, of course, is his return back to ThorSport. 4th in the standings. Brett Moffitt is in 5th right now for GMS Racing. And then you have ThorSport's Matt Crafton in 6th, who a lot of people think is not in his prime anymore. And he's one of those veteran drivers in the truck series that's raced his whole career in this division for pretty much only one team for the majority. And maybe the 6th place in points could help him up a little bit. We are coming to round 6 of the season. So maybe things are starting to be a little more stable. Who knows? Looking further on in the championship standings, Austin Hill is locked into the playoffs with the win at Daytona. As for Todd Gillen is in 8th. Harrison Burton is outside of the cut line in 9th by 1 point from his teammate. Now, I do want to say there's a team I'm having my eye on. It's Nice Motorsports. Ross Chastain had a brilliant run at Martinsville, coming up short to Kyle Busch, and he seems to qualify that 45 truck really well, Justin. I know you really pointed your eyes on him in the last few truck races. What do you think?
I think they're really performing well, and also they got that GMS alliance that helped because they used to run like top 15, top 20s before, and then they got the alliance last year, and that's when they started collecting. And it's like you see an improvement. It's like Friesen. Stuart Friesen last year had the GMS alliance, and they did really well. So, and also, Kyle Benjamin is going to race 7 races in that 45 truck, starting at Texas.
Wait, who?
Kyle Benjamin.
Tyler Ankrum?
No, Kyle Benjamin.
Oh, Kyle Benjamin. My bad.
Tyler Ankrum's driving for.
Oh yeah, I forgot. He's still with David Gilliland's team, but Kyle Benjamin is a driver who I think, if he's in the same boat as Drew Herring from his outcome at Joe Gibbs Racing, I will nod at you and agree. Kyle Benjamin was just someone who I don't think had the fair shot at Gibbs and was placed to the side one too many times, and hopefully this will be a redemption zone for him.
Yeah.
All right, so
for
who
a
do you guys?
growing team like Nice Motorsports, they need him as much as he needs them.
Yeah.
All right, who do you guys think are going to take the win in the Truck Series?
Winning the trucks. Oh.
I'm going to be very, very audacious and say Stuart Friesen is going to win at Dover.
For me, I think Johnny Sauter. Johnny Sauter's won there last year. Last year, Johnny Sauter won there. I think Johnny Sauter in the 13 truck will
Yeah, plus he
finish.
has experience.
I have to agree with Justin on that one. He won there last year. He's kind of been having some growing pains since joining back to Thor Sport, but he ran really well at Texas, and they're starting to get back to the groove of things. So I think Johnny Sauter gets his first win of the season at Dover.
Yeah, and I think he's got something to prove. As for a dark horse pick for this Truck Series race, I don't know if it's fair to call him a dark horse or not, but I will definitely say Todd Gilliland. He's been shaky, a little bit shaky, and questions have arisen, even from Kyle Busch, of whether this is the right idea to have him on my team still. But that's as he says. I still disagree with Kyle Busch on that, and just let the races pass. He'll improve. He did great last year in the races he ran in that Ford truck. I think Todd Gilliland will get a top 5 in this race and will start a great run into the summer portion of the year. So he's my dark horse.
Dark horse for me, I'm going to go with his teammate Harrison Burke. Not that long ago, I think it was like after, I don't know what race it was, but like at one point in the season, he was second in the standings, so he was doing very, very well. Obviously, he's fallen out of the playoff picture for now, but I think if we're talking about dark horses, if he can get back to the groove of things, look out for Harrison Burke.
Oh, absolutely. I like the second generation Burton. He's just great, man. I think there's a long way to go for that guy.
Yeah, dark horse would be Brandon Jones because he's been close to winning a truck race multiple times. Because he's running the 51 this season. And he's been close winning a truck race. He's gone second every time.
Sometimes I feel like second place is I don't want to get into politics, but I feel like it's the glass ceiling of racing. You just, for some reason, like Chase Elliott had a glass ceiling of second place finishes at one point in his career before making the breakthrough at Watkins Glen to claim his first victory. Maybe Brandon Jones is in that same boat as well. I'm not so sure. Maybe he'll prove us wrong. We'll just have to see.
Yep.
All right. Blake,
Talk
what about
about
you?
Xfinity.
Who's going to get the win?
Xfinity, oh yeah. Xfinity Series.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah, I don't really watch the trucks, but I have watched a few races before in previous seasons, and I haven't this season, but yeah, I don't really know about who's the name to go with right now or anything like that, but I do know, I mean, like these trucks are, I mean, they got more downforce than cup cars,
Yeah.
but they
that's
also
right.
run a lot less horsepower. So that's mixing they're kind of their own thing.
Yeah, and the configuration they have so far makes for some great racing. on the 1.5-mile tracks, which has been a lacking issue for the Cup cars in recent years. Find
All right.
Truck race at Atlanta that is much more impressive than the Cup race, but that's for another topic because we do want to continue on about the Xfinity Cup.
All right. So the Xfinity race. Who do you guys think is going to get the win?
I'm going to go with Christopher Bell. He just has more experience at this track than really any other drivers on the grid. He's going to probably hold off Cole Custer and Tyler Reddick for this victory. Or Justin Allgaier. I think Allgaier is a dark horse, mainly due to the fact that he's been quiet this season. A little more quieter than I've expected. I don't want to jump to conclusions, but yes, he's won the race last year holding off a hard-charging Elliott Sadler, but just give it some time. I think Allgaier in a track that he knows well will go hand in hand and help him get the win. He'll just have to pass Christopher Bell somehow.
I think Tyler Reddick is going to get the win. He's going to go back-to-back. He's been such on a roll this year. I mean, from what I've noticed from Christopher Bell, it's kind of what I noticed last season. If he's not winning, he's kind of wrecking. I mean, if you look at the stats, I mean, Christopher Bell, he and Tyler Reddick have one thing I kind of criticize a lot about Christopher Bell. He needs to finish races and not wreck. Because, I mean, he's got only 6 top 10s this season compared to Tyler Reddick's 8, Austin Cindric's 7, and I think that's it. Oh, no, John Nemechek's 7. So there's a couple drivers who have more top 10s. I think that's something Christopher Bell needs to work on just a little bit is finishing more races in the top 10, like being a little bit more consistent with the top 10 wise. So that's why I think Tyler Reddick is going to get the win. I think he's had more he's been able to close out these top 5s a lot more. And coming off the win at Daytona, I think he's going to go back-to-back.
All righty. Let's think about the truck. I mean, not the we are talking about trucks. But the Monster Energy Cup Series race at Dover. I'm going to go with Kevin Harvick. He's having a slump. Listen, compared to the way he ran last year, sure, he's high up in the points. However, it still is not matching well. I wanted to mention, he barely had any of a race at Talladega. It left very angry about a wreck that he was involved that he didn't cause at all. And Harvick won last year. Never looked back. I call it the Kevin Harvick 400 at Dover. I used to say that about Jimmy Johnson when he would win at Jimmy Johnson Speedway, also known as Dover. But Johnson's not in his prime anymore, whether fans like it or not. Sorry, Dan. Well,
Team orders.
oh, goodness. Goodness me. But Harvick will get his first win of the year. And if he doesn't win, keep an eye out for somebody in the top 5 finishing behind him. His name will be Kyle Larson. Something's got to stop the bleeding.
All right.
Dover's a second.
All right, here's my pick. I'm going to pick Chase Elliott to go back-to-back. And here's something interesting. Every time he's gotten a win, he's always had a chance to go back-to-back. You look at Watkins 1, he had the chance to go back-to-back. He had a good shot to go back-to-back in Michigan because that's one of his best tracks. He has 3 runner-up finishes in a row there. When he won at Dover, he's really good at Talladega. He could have gone back-to-back then. When he won at Kansas, Martinsville, one of his best tracks, he could have gone back-to-back then. I think finally he's going back to a track where he's won that before. You could say, however, he won that, whatever, but he's good at Dover. I think he's finally going to get that back-to-back win that he probably should have gotten in one of the 3 previous wins last season.
I think Kyle Larson, I know he's in a slump. I know he just can't stop the bleeding. He finished 1 lap too early at Talladega yesterday. He also has his career best at Dover being a second in 2016. He was literally dog chasing Matt Kenseth to the line and it took the last 30 laps for Kenseth to hang on and eventually get the win. But I gotta say, Larson has a knack for this type of track. Do not be surprised if he runs up front, and he'll probably get a top 10 finish as long as the pit crew plays the cards right. The crew chief does what he needs to do, and the driver does his part. Everything should go well. And don't forget, Kansas, he almost won last year, but had contact in an incident with Ryan Blaney that took him out of contention late in the race.
Yeah.
As for an underdog, dark horse pick, Alex Bowman. What a race he's had.
Yep.
Career best finish of second, Justin. I was thrilled with how he ran that race. I said, stay in the inside line. Even if people pass you, just hang on to the inside line. You might have a teammate or two to be around there. And this is like with 9 laps to go before the wreck with Chris Buescher. And here comes Chase Elliott. Here comes William Byron for a brief moment before Byron messes up. And then Chase comes in front of him like, oh my gosh. He was so close for that win. If they raced back to the finish line, Bowman may as well would have gone to victory lane.
My dark horse is going to be Austin Dillon. He's been really good, surprisingly, this season. He's 13th in the standings. I expect him to get a top 5. First top 5 of the season for Austin Dillon.
And Justin, who do you think is going to find victory lane at Dover?
It's quite hard. For Dover, I don't know. I think Kevin Harvick could possibly get his first one of the season. He's won there before. He won there last year.
Yeah. And do not count out Kyle Busch. If you saw the race in the 2017 event in the playoffs, how he chased down Elliott in those last 10 laps on the outside lane, it was a message saying, the race ain't done yet. I'm here. I'm going to pass you, and I'll take the win. Please and thank you. And that was one of Chase Elliott's hardest losses. Like I said about the glass ceiling, it didn't break just yet. Of all those second-place finishes, it wasn't done with. And, of course, he won there literally the next year in 2018 in the fall.
Here's the question. Do you think Kyle Busch's top 10 streak is going to continue?
Oh, absolutely.
Where do you see it ending?
Yeah, that's...
Because I thought we had Talladega.
Somehow he managed to survive Talladega.
So where do you think this top 10 finish will?
Dodged all the bullets. Well, I think Kyle Busch's top 10 streak might just come to an end in Pocono. Car may override going to turn 1. Who knows?
All right. I'm going to say Kansas. I don't know why. It's just a gut feeling that I got. I think he's going to finish it at Kansas. All right. I think we covered everything. Anything else you guys have to say?
Well, thank you very much.
No.
All right. So we'll end it there. Joseph, Justin, Blake, as usual, thank you for being on the panel. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to the 4th episode of the Below the Yellow Line podcast. Follow me on Instagram at velocity87_. Follow me on Twitter at 87velocity. Obviously, follow us at World Racing Media on Twitter. Let me just get the Twitter handle for you. Add WR Media Group on Twitter, where you can get all the latest news and stuff from us. We should hopefully be having some content coming out soon. And once again, thanks for watching.